Welcome back. All right, so I've watched a lot of Christmas movies. I've watched a ton of them over the last month, almost one a day, basically for weeks now. And I've reviewed the ones that I thought were of most interest for this channel. I watched another one last night, and beat for beat, it followed a very similar pattern to the other movies. And they have a very similar pattern. But here's the thing. So I mean for this video to be more towards if your, let's say your significant other really enjoys Christmas movies and you don't. And really you're like, this is so predictable and boring. But you want to, spice it up a little bit. Here you go. So first off, the whole idea of Christmas movies is simple. And I think there's like one basic script and then everybody just kind of copies off everybody else. So it's a big city person. Usually it's a woman, but there are movies I've seen where it's a man and big city dude. He's got his big job and everything's fast and life moves fast and they have they want to get a promotion a lot of the time. A lot of the time they want to get a promotion. Maybe they want to expand their business and crush this small town. But either way, they end up going to a small town and they have to dislike Christmas. They just have to. And there are various reasons we'll get into because there's sort of a dark undercurrent in these that I've picked up on that I know that the people who make these movies do not intend to be there. And that's the part that I find endlessly entertaining is I find all these sinister things in these movies that there's no way that they mean when they make them. So the town is always just Christmas. There are trees outside that are ridiculously decorated. There are decorations on every single part of every home that you will go into in these movies. Now, it's a lot. And then what I noticed too in a couple of recent ones is that the extras, first off, it's supposed to be a small town of 500 people. And yet the sidewalk is filled with people all the time. And we have no idea where they're going, where they're coming from. They're always smiling. They're always smiling, which tells me that there might be somebody somewhere making sure they're always smiling because it's weird. Generally, people out and about in winter aren't always smiling and happy. Maybe that's the Canadian part of me. I don't know. I don't go out right now in January when it's flipping cold and compared to the rest of Canada, it's not that cold here. But I don't go outside and think, this is great. I can't wait to go for a walk. Why don't we go downtown, just walk along the road, and we'll smile. You can tell it's not cold is the other part that I find funny. That these people are wearing clothes that you would not wear if it was actually really cold. There was one last night where it's supposed to be -1 Fahrenheit, which is very cold, and she's out there in a sweater vest and just a shirt, and she's fine. And I'm thinking, no, no. And it's a sweater vest she wears indoors during parts of the movie too, which is a big no-no. You don't wear your jacket indoors because then when you go outside, you're colder. At least that's always how I was raised to view that kind of thing. So the extras are smiling everywhere, but I have theories about the extras. So here comes the dark part of these movies and what I watch for and why I am actually suggesting to watch these now. So first off, in almost every case, big city person, guy's got big money, woman who's looking for a promotion, guy looking for promotion, whoever comes to this small town usually never leaves. So once they get into the small town, you can just turn to the person you watch the movie with and go, well, they're trapped now. And when they look at you funny and go, what? Just be like, wait for it. They're never leaving this town again. And I said that with last night's movie. I was right. I was like, well, they're stuck. That's it. Sometimes there's two people that I think get stuck, but I'll come back to that. So Santa Claus is always visible in these, whether he's an actual character, sometimes he's magic, making Lindsay Lohan run her face into a tree. It seemed kind of extreme for Christmas that she's going down a ski hill and she essentially she dies. The rest of the movie is just her brain trying to deal with the fact it's shutting down. But my speculation is simple. Either it's Santa or it's Krampus. Maybe Krampus is actually Santa's twin brother, and these people are being trapped by Santa slash Krampus, whoever you want it to be. Maybe it's an evil Santa Claus, right? And it could be in one of the movies we watched and reviewed on this channel. We talked about the evil Santa Claus. And definitely an evil Santa Claus. So, because, this woman's like, I'm going to lose my career and my life if I don't get out of this town. And he's like, oh, well. And it's like, oh my gosh, he's psychotic. So, Santa Claus is the puppet master, so look for him. And in the movie we watched last night, his face was on the clock. Now, I have no way of knowing whether or not that face on the clock was tied back somehow to Santa Claus who's watching remotely from somewhere, but that's totally happening. So once they're trapped, and they don't know that they're trapped, and that's the sinister part. They don't realize they're not allowed to leave. There's two different theories Yvonne and I have. They have to relive the movie forever, which is an echo of something in Lucifer, where once people are in, the bad place, they are forced to relive a trauma. They are forced to relive the same thing over and over and over. So for somebody who hates Christmas, what better way to torture them to have them reliving Christmas over and over and over and over and not even being aware of it? And then the other theory that I have too is that so once you're trapped, so you'll never leave this small town, you become a part of that small town, and you are still never allowed to leave, but now you are actively a part of the next recruitment. You are actively a part of a town that grows with each movie, and you're now part of the problem. You're basically bringing people in and trapping them as well. So, yeah, it gets even more sinister, doesn't it? A kiss seals their fate. So, I think there's 3 movies we've watched that ended with a kiss. There was one where the kiss was almost going to happen and then it didn't, and it sealed, and it's always a closed mouth. Come on now, PG rated. Got to keep it. Got to keep that down. There was one of these movies we watched that had kind of a suggestive scene, and there was a big warning at the start of it, and I was like, "What?" Because Christmas movies are always G rated, so they're like, "Hey, you're gonna see a woman lay down on a bed and she's kissing a dude, so just keep the children away from this one." So, and that's it. They didn't. There was nothing salacious. Nothing. But yeah, so these people get trapped. The kiss seals their fate, and that's why you roll the credits when they kiss, because now that kiss has sealed their fate. And there's a song. There's a song that I noticed, and one of the movies actually makes it a plot line that every time 12 Days of Christmas plays, this woman is losing her chance to go back. So if she gets to the 12th day of Christmas and it does the entire 12th day of Christmas, her fate's sealed. She's done. And so she's going to have to make that choice about whether or not to go back to how things were or not. So if you listen in the background of these movies, and I've been tracking it since that one, 12 Days of Christmas plays in all of them. And then there was a time lapse at one point too. One of the movies we watched was a continual time lapse. I count that as being the same thing, that time lapse is telling you their time to escape is winding down. It's sort of a Donnie Darko kind of tie-in. So Donnie Darko, during the movie, if you watch the director's cut, there are moments where time is sped up and you see everybody moving really super fast. And that was intended by the director to tell you he is moving through time. This is how he's perceiving it. And so I see the sun rising very quickly in this one movie and setting very, very quickly. And I'm like, okay, so time lapse. So that is an indication, like the 12 Days of Christmas, that the curse is close to becoming permanent. The one we watched last night, 12 Days of Christmas, played right near the end. And I was like, see, the curse is almost complete. 12 Days of Christmas is playing. Sometimes it's the actual song, sometimes they're singing the song, and sometimes it's very faintly in the background. It is always there. I understand that it's like, free music that you can play 12 Days of Christmas and there's no royalties you have to pay out. I get why they do it, but it's still funny. And then death always has a role in this. They're kind of really a downer on some level, that like the person who hates Christmas, somebody died. It's always at Christmas. So the Christmas miracles that these movies create only offset the Christmas tragedies that preceded them. So are there Christmas miracles? Sure, I guess, but the price for that Christmas miracle is death. So that is the price to be. It is so dark. It is so dark, but it has made these movies so much more watchable for me, because there's always someone who's, I used to like Christmas. If only they hadn't gone on that spelunking trip. They went underground and they never came out. And I mean, sure, I'm describing the descent, but still, it someday I might have something good happen at Christmas, and maybe I had somebody that went spelunking and didn't come back out of the cave. So, yay, Christmas miracle! And as soon as the Christmas miracle happens, everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. And there's always this ridiculous amount of people in this small town that show up for things, and they'll have Christmas markets in a town where everybody already has Christmas. There was one movie that called that out, where a guy at a store that sold just Christmas stuff, and he was like, since everybody in this town already has Christmas stuff, I don't know how much longer I can do this. This business doesn't seem to be succeeding. So I thought that was funny. There are moments in these movies that are unintentionally funny usually, but I hope this guide will help people. And I know it will, mostly it's probably going to be men where their girlfriends or their wives really enjoy these movies, but it might work for somebody else too. Watch them and notice that there's all these things that will happen, and then go through this and see how many of those things, write it down as like a bingo card and see how many of those things happen. I've talked about making bingo cards for Christmas movies, and I might do that. I might very well make a bingo card and have Yvonne and I watch them and check things off, and then, bingo, I got it. All right, cool. So yeah, here's my challenge for you. Is there anything else you can think of from Christmas movies, if you've watched a bunch of them, that should be on the board? And B, does this help at all? Because if it doesn't, I apologize, but I think it's funny, and for me, it's made them a lot more watchable. I have a lot of moments now where I pause and I say, okay, and I come out with whatever crazy theories in my brain about what's happening, and this might be one of those things where I just see the world a little bit differently, and so it helps me to deal with the just how mundane some of these movies are. But it's a fun challenge, so let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.